Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Unit Lost. I am Stylosa and I'm joined by the magnificent.
One amongst many. Hello, I am here to talk a load of guff about Brigitte at some point today.
Oh, well, let's talk about the MOIRA skin first, actually. So, shock horror, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to make a dedicated, high-quality 3-minute video or whatever the hell the last one was on the latest skin, but it's BANSHEE MOIRA, which actually looks quite good. And through the power of editing, I've put it into the video. I'll probably put it on the thumbnail. In fact, I think it'd be a nice thumbnail. The BANSHEE MOIRA and then the Brigitte. Doesn't make any sense, but it'll look nice, whatever. So, yeah. The cool thing about this, though, is it probably means that Sombra is the bride, because BANSHEE MOIRA doesn't make any sense for a bride, does it? Going to be funky. Or it might be Brigitte, actually, because we think there might be a Brigitte skin, which is styled on kind of like a Dark Souls style knight skin. Anyway, enough of that. It's beautiful. The whole point of this video is Brigitte. Now, there was a video put out by a guy called Harshin. Now, he used to work for San Francisco Shock. He was an analyst kind of / coach. He's quite famous for some of his analytical content that he put out on Overwatch before Overwatch League happened. And he put the idea forward of Brigitte being like a necessary evil. And this is a really good topic for honestly, Josh, a massive discussion, because Brigitte has changed the game in a lot of ways for the better, but also she's done things to the game which make it kind of frustrating in some situations. So yeah, let's get stuck into this.
Yeah, Brigitte's, like, if you go back to her inception, like, when Brigitte came into the game, it was like the dive meta time period. It was when Genji and Trace were sort of running out of control, and Trace's always kind of run out of control, right? She's always been the super powerful, super influential pick that's come in, done tons of damage, killed supports all the time, and just, like, made everyone's life a nightmare. Blizzard seem really hesitant to nerf her. They've done, like, tweaks here and there. She's had some incidental nerfs where, like, massive changes to the game have made her a little bit worse, but she's remained pretty much untouched. And Blizzard was starting to go, well, we need to do something about Tracer, we need to have a support that can actually do something about that, and that's where Brigitte's concept sort of comes into things. So she was basically built to counter a specific playstyle and a specific set of heroes, and now we have this really hard counter in the game that's sort of limiting what Tracer and to some degree Genji's impact is, right?
Yeah, but like also as well, she was designed to stop dive as well. Like, so dive... we go back to when dive comp was prevalent. Everybody's rolling dive. Winston's basically the only tank we're using for the majority of maps. So, like, how can you stop this massive monkey jumping? That's offensive to Winston. How can you stop this massive scientist gorilla? I was getting there, Josh. Come on. From jumping on the back line and just deleting the Zen or whatever the hell. Maybe he goes in with a Genji or he goes in with a Diva or whatever. Like, how do you stop this? What do you do? Well, the answer is a tanky support that can stun or has crowd control elements. So that support, in theory, can stand next to the other support, and thus that support becomes not immune, but very protected against dive. However, what's happened is that support now becomes immune. But what we... Like, I remember when we go back to theorizing how Brigitte was going to fit into the game, I think a lot of us came to the conclusion that, hey, you're probably going to take this hero instead of a flex tank. It's not a support because it doesn't have that much healing. But what she does have is burst healing, but also she's very effective at protecting the back line. And now this is a job which was pretty much reserved for, let's say, a Diva in terms of the flex tank. So we were always at the time going, hey, this is maybe how she's going to come in and affect the game. But what actually happened is she comes in and we see a lot of triple support. We see a lot of, they like to refer to it as 3-3, don't they? But everybody tends to call this GOATs, tanks and 3 supports with Brigitte, obviously. The issue is she shuts down skillful play with like a single press of a button, and this is kind of ridiculous. Like, there's this notion in Overwatch balance and design of it needs to feel good for the person doing the killing as well as the person getting killed. Now, let's be real, Josh. It's never going to feel good if I just come and like kill you, is it? If I'm like Widow and I just one tap you in the head, you're like, what the hell? That doesn't feel good. You're dead. But at least if you were the other Widow, that it was a skill matchup, right? And you've been outskilled. It's like, okay, that's fine, right? Brig, though, is like, okay, I'm going to go in with Winston. I'm going to do some fancy dart. I've just been stunned, and now, well, I'm a bit screwed, boys, because I can't really do anything. And this other person, all they're literally doing is pressing one button to counter me. And it gets even worse when you look at Tracer. Now, Tracer's been the traditional sort of balance, like, pole. That's a really terrible way of explaining it, but she's like the measuring stick or sort of the marker that everything else is based around. If Tracer's Like she's almost like the, I don't want to call her the margin of error. She's like the she's like the.
She's the center point, right? She's like the fulcrum around everything, which everything turns, right? When Tracer is powerful, then, you know, Tracer has just never been really touched that much. So she's always sort of been, I guess, like the benchmark, I guess is the word you're looking for.
Yeah, that's the one, benchmark, yeah.
So you try and like balance around Tracer's power level. And if someone's weaker than Tracer, then you try and bring them up to that level. If they're more powerful than Tracer, you try and bring them down. But Brigitte has just sort of gone, who's Tracer? Who is this stain on my shield? Who is this greasy smear on the floor? Because I just saw her and then I pressed all my buttons and now she's dead. And it's like, and then as the Tracer, like the point you mentioned about, you know, the skill-based play, the idea of skill-based play, playing Tracer is hard. I used to keep track of like Tracer's win rates, and Tracer's win rates were universally bad until about Masters level, right? They were all sub 50% because she is difficult to play, but when you play her really well, then she starts becoming super powerful. And when you got a Tracer in your backline just zipping in and like one-clipping your support, like it's like, holy moly, that guy's really good. And then you have a Brigitte who's just like got 3 buttons on his keyboard and he's just like... slapping them, and then and then she's dead, and it's like, well, why did I spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours practicing Tracer when I could have just played Brigitte and then just... Well, I hope that's coming through on the mic, by the way.
Yeah, it is, yeah. So, like, yeah, it's like the matchup with McCree and Tracer, right? There's potential for outplay. There is no potential for a Tracer to outplay a Brig. They literally look at the Brig and go, well... I'm just going to go jump off the map and change my hero. Or they can play around it to some degree, but they're not going to be very effective against her. And what the Tracer's priority is not to go in there and kill the Brig, because that's just going to be a bit of a task. Brig's just going to stand there with a shield in her face, and then she's going to slap you with a mace, and she's going to heal. Then she's just going to be annoying. And God forbid, if you get too close, she's going to stun you. But the Tracer's job of trying to harass the backline becomes nigh on impossible, because the Brig, if it's got half a brain cell, which it probably should have, will be with the team or with the support. So it'll just straight up stop this harassment. So the Tracer then it's effectively nullified. It has no effect. Now, we know that Blizzard like us to swap heroes. They want us to be changing heroes all the time. They don't want us to just pick 6 heroes and that's just the way we play the game. Now, the game has had a lot of history with that. There's been a lot of, this is the ideal tank, look at the Mercy meta. It's like, everybody needs a Mercy. But my argument now is, if the enemy team has got a Brigitte, then you need a Brigitte, because if you don't have her, there are a lot of, there's a lot of issues to play around it, because I always remember, like, again, going back to when she first came out, it was like, oh, Junkrat will probably be quite good against Brig, Pharah will probably be quite good against Brig, or even Soldier. Anyone with range that can just fire into the Brig, they might be okay, right? Because they can push her back, they can keep her away from the action. The reality is, Brig just rolls in with the tanks. So it's like, how do we stop this horrific ball of meat coming towards us, which is just going to stun us, smash us, and do all that? I mean, I guess the next point we should talk about is just the oppressive nature of Brig, but also why she's necessary as well. She's oppressively necessary, or necessarily oppressive. And is that a good way to dictate the meta of the game? Because let's be real, guys, that's what Brigitte is doing. You remember when Jeff was talking about the launch of the next hero? It's like, oh, this is a meta-changing hero. Well, yeah, it's a hero which shuts down Dive and shuts down Tracer. They were very strong at the time.
Yeah, and like I was really concerned when I heard that, because to me it's a really band-aid solution. You sort of end up cycling through metas of just like, well, Brigitte's come out, so now we need, say, like some form of anti-ball tank in a ball shape that can counter Goat's comp. Unfortunately, that doesn't manifest because, well, Hammond has a crippling weakness to Sombra, and you just run a single Sombra, and suddenly Hammond is gone, and you can run Brigitte and Sombra together. And so it's like, well, okay, Hammond slams in, gets tons of shield, and then it just gets hacked and sort of goes, hi, hello, with Wrecking Ball, and just explodes, right? So it sort of doesn't work. When it doesn't work, then suddenly it's like, well, how do we deal with this Brig? And the reason why she's so oppressive is, like, anyone can just go and pick her, and it'll probably be fine, right? If you're playing DPS and you pick Brig and you have 3 supports, that's fine, because she can stun people, kill people, protect people. Everyone's so tanky and durable, you end up winning out fights. If you're playing an off-tank, you can probably still swap to Brig, and it's still probably fine. Your team will just do more DPS and still have tons and tons of healing. The only time that I think that Brig might be a bad pick, honestly, is if you're playing a different support.
Hold on. Brig's a bad pick. Come on. What?
I hate playing double support where it's like, Ana Brig or Zen Brig, especially like Zen Brig, there's no healing. Lucio Brig. I don't like those. I don't like it when I have to play like a support and a Brig. I prefer it when it's like support Brig, because Brig isn't really a healer. She's just like a she breaks the legs of the enemy team.
Brig is a monster. She's just this support tank DPS with loads of... Oh my god. What were Blizzard smoking? I mean, she's fun to play, but she isn't fun to get just... Oh god, the enemy team picked Brig, so I'm kind of screwed now. But right, so we know she's oppressive, but we know she's... everything's artificially designed in the game, but she's designed to change the game. And how has the game changed? Well, now... We've got goats, and I'm sure you can tell us what goats is again for the billionth time, Mr. One amongst many.
Every single time, because you got to be careful with these names, right? Because there's always someone out there who lives in a small little hut in the woods who hasn't heard of goats. Goats is a 3-3 comp, 3 tanks, 3 supports. You play Reinhardt, Zarya, Diva, and then you play Brig, and then generally it's like Moira, Lucio. You can also play different support instead of the Moira, but in general it's this sort of it's this tank comp that you can speed onto the point with, go super aggressive. Tank cooldowns are really good, so you sort of mash into the enemy team, you build up some fast ultimates, you use support ultimates to win fights, and you go from there and you snowball like crazy. And the Brig enables this because she gives you burst healing, she gives you AoE healing, she gives you extra sustainability with the armor. It's also really hard to kill any of the tanks when you have like 150 hit points just thrown at them from across the map reliably, so no one dies ever. And so the answer to beating goats is really, really difficult, because Brig just lets you run this comp that is so sustainable, so tanky, and gives you kill potential at the same time by stunning people, setting up kills, booping people further away from their team and isolating them, stuff like that. Like, good Brigs can really isolate targets and help you find these kills quickly as well. So she's just terrifying in that comp, and she makes it work. And I know when Moira came in, people were like, oh, maybe you can run these tank heavy comps, and it never really manifested it, and it didn't manifest because Moira doesn't give you that extra kill setup, that extra sort of pin them down that Brig provides. And my issue isn't so much with, the nature of Brig, it's the fact that Brig is so easy to do, right? If this was a high-skill hero, if this took a lot of work, if this was like Ana doing this, then fine. Like, it's really difficult to play Ana well. You can miss shots. There's like a liability there. There's a weakness there when you see an Ana that, oh, she just doesn't hit any shots, and so you get no healing. With Brig, you're still going to get value out of her, even if, your brains are dribbling out of your nose. It's fine. It's easy.
Well, all right, here's an interesting thing. What about Overwatch League? Now, Blizzard are making changes to the game. They must have some idea on how this is going to impact the meta at the time. Now, I think we were quite lucky with Season 1 of Overwatch League because, yeah, Tracer was strong. Obviously, we had the whole Mercy thing, but in terms of DPS, we had Tracer. Tracer, you can visibly see skill. You see her moving around the map. Everyone's like, oh, look at Sabiolbi, he's amazing. Look at Prophet, he's amazing. Look at Soon, they're amazing Tracer players. You can see those people have dedicated years of their life to becoming extremely good with Tracer, and then you could visibly appreciate the skill. Now, Overwatch has got a big problem with for people being able to visually appreciate what the hell is going on the screen. So, we then look at a Widowmaker meta. Again, this is really nice for the game because, at the pro level anyway, because you get to see Widow. What is more simplistic than this is a sniper, this is the scope, it's aiming at things, if it shoots them in their head, then most of the time they will die. That is beautiful. This is why games like Counter-Strike, very popular. My dad understands Counter-Strike. He does not have a clue what the hell is going on with Overwatch, right? So, any kind of favourable meta which allows us to understand the game a little bit easier. I mean, it's okay for us and guys like watching the video. You guys know Overwatch, you understand the game, so you tend to be able to appreciate the kind of like nuances and things that are going on. Anyway, goats. I'm going to be honest, Josh. When I see this happening a lot, it just is. It's crap to watch. Like, it's just they're just rushing to the point. Now, I'm guilty of this when I play on ladder. If it's 2 CP, I'm like, hey guys, now it'll be like, oh, is that Stylosa? I'm like, no, it is really. So I got a comp, boys, that we're going and ladies that we're gonna run. It's gonna be right. Somebody's gonna pick Brig, right? Somebody's gonna pick Lucio. Somebody's gonna pick Moira. I'm gonna play Reinhardt or Zarya. I quite like a bit of Zarya recently. Somebody's gonna play Zarya and Diva, and we're just gonna go in, and we're just gonna walk to the point. And it is. It's a bit too easy to do. At the pro level, it's not very interesting to watch, I don't think. I think it's difficult for people to actually break down what's going on from a viewer's perspective, because you just see these balls of tanks hitting each other. Now, I know from the work we did with Team UK that GOATS itself, there are loads of little things you can do. There are loads of little micro plays that differentiate the teams. You look at Eagles Gaming. Now, you guys might not be familiar with these. They were a French team that won the... I think were they all French? It's a French organisation.
Yeah, they're French.
Yeah. They were known for being the masters of GOATS or 3-3 comp. They're really good at that. One of their players, Nico, played for the French team. So I always remember, like, we were sitting there thinking, right, the UK have probably got the best sort of 3-3 team here. We'll have a really good chance against France. But then France just went to another level. All of the little things they were doing were just little micro outplays for the UK. Granted, the crowd was not really with the UK, and that's going to affect the plays a little bit. But they were doing little things that give them a little advantage. But my big issue is it is so difficult for casters to highlight that. Like, when we go back and we watch like the VODs back, maybe, you know, we're making a pro over analyzed or whatever, you can, like, when you pause it, you can look at it and think, oh, okay, but you don't really see that when it's going down live. That's a massive problem to me. So I don't understand what the devs are doing with these kind of changes. Like, why introduce a hero which was going to be the missing piece for the MOIRA tank ball, what was it called, the Slambulance comp, for that comp, but we didn't actually know Brigitte was a thing, but then she came out and suddenly the pieces fit together. We get Hammond after that, like, as you covered. Hammond, okay, supposed to be like not a counter, but supposed to change things up a bit.
He's supposed to like smash through these big clumped up comps. He's meant to like do something about this sort of clumping up that's happening, but that didn't really manifest because, like I mentioned, like you can just pick Sombra and you just hold right mouse button on him every time he does something. Like Chris wonderfully demonstrated to the world. If you go and watch Paris versus the UK on Route 66, France versus the UK on Route 66, you'll see it over and over and over again of why Hammond isn't actually that good, because one Sombra just shuts it all down if she plays a little bit defensively. The issue I have as well is that they are nerfing Farah, who like used to be one of the hard counters to GOATS, or at least, well, one of the more efficient counters to GOATS style play. They're sort of changing how Farah works, making direct more impactful, but reducing splash. That's going to mean less barrages, and you need barrages to win against GOATS fights. But like GOATS is a nightmare because it's like, you have to be like me to appreciate GOATS, right? You have to really, really, really be into watching pro-level Overwatch and sort of going, oh, which cooldowns did he use here? Oh, that's a very interesting choice. The Zarya decided to put a bubble up now.
This is how you sound, Josh.
Yeah, that's how I sound. That's exactly how I sound in my head when I'm like doing a VOD review, right? Because it's like, it's so specific and so niche, and the average viewer doesn't care about that. The average viewer isn't going, oh, the Lucio speed boosted now, oh, they're in trouble. Like, that's what's happening in my mind. And it's like, so yeah, this style of play is like very, very frustrating to watch, and it is all sort of hinged upon the fact that Brigitte is just sat there in the middle, making everything tankier, making everything slower, making DPS less efficient, and it's all doing it while being very easy and very bland to watch. And it's frustrating, and it's like, it's one of those issues that has always sort of loomed over Overwatch, right? Ever since like people found out about Winston, they were worried about this sort of stuff, which is how impactful can a low skill hero be compared to a high skill hero? And Brigitte is one of those cases where I think a low skill hero is being too impactful. And so they need to make her more punishable. They need to make her have sort of opportunity costs. They're reducing the barrier a bit, but I know people talk about like stuff like, oh, well, when she slams forward with her shield, maybe her shield breaks, or maybe she can't raise her shield for a little bit of time.
Yeah.
You know, things like that, decisions like that, where it's like, oh, she's made a mistake, she can be punished. I mean, it's only recently where she got changed, where now when she collides with a punch or a charge, that she falls down.
Yeah, which is
and it's like,
mental,
that felt way overdue, right? Because it's like, she shouldn't just be able to block this stuff for free. And so adding ways to punish the Brigitte, I think, is going to just make it more and more and more of a case of, okay, now she's feeling better, but I would also like to see her have just more important decisions, like increase cooldown times on stuff like the stun, or change how a little bits and pieces work so that she is making relevant and interesting decisions rather than just, oh, I mash all my buttons and hope that works.
Yeah, this is the issue with Brigitte. Like, what do you do? I mean, I seen a crazy suggestion where somebody was like, yeah, every time she uses shield bash, it damages her. It's like, that's a bit ridiculous. I like the idea or the route of going down using the actual shield itself as the resource. So yeah, she's got a cooldown, but when she hits and contacts with something, you know, the shield is smashing into something, it should take damage. And it should be, I don't know whether it should be completely destroyed, because I think that would, again, kind of not make her very strong, and this is the ultimate issue with Brigitte, right? What do you do with her now? These little changes we start seeing, like I think the recent one on the PTR is the shield's reduced from 600 to 500 hit points. Now that is a little kind of fine-tuned, but it's still a 500 point shield. That's a Winston bubble, right? Or a Winston bubble 600. But is it 600? It used to be 500.
Yeah, it's 600. Yeah.
Similar. So that's obviously really good. And you talk about the Pharah nerf. That actually makes Brigitte stronger because there's less splash. Because I don't know if you guys are aware, but the splash from Pharah would hit Brigitte most of the time because Brigitte's shield is shaped as such that it doesn't give her full protection in front. So if it's hitting like in front of the shield, the damage is splashing into her. So it was still doing enough to push her back. But now it's like, no, Blizz. Right, Josh, we've moaned enough. Ladies and gentlemen, let us know what you think about this in the comments below. Brigitte is a necessary evil because she's changed the game. I don't want to say for the better, but she's changed the game. She's made heroes like Tracer, she's made comps like Dive have a very viable counter. So if you are against a team that is running Dive comp, or they have a very good Tracer or a very good Genji, you need to think to yourself, all right, do I want to play McCree like I might have done before? No, I want to play Brigitte because I will just shut her down completely. That is an option for you to just counterplay the enemy with a pick. The big issue is you're countering players that have put timing to master heroes by simply pressing H on your keyboard or whatever it is on the consoles and going Brig, select, and then run to your team. Yeah. Any final words, Josh?
Yeah, and I'll cap off on that point as well, Elf. You're not only just countering what they're doing, but then you're also running into the enemy team, stunning their tanks, and just being ridiculously powerful in all areas of the game.
Tank. It's not just about Tracer and Genji, right? Tanks have a nightmare against Brig. Like Reinhardt, so if you're playing Brig and you've got a Reinhardt on your team and your Reinhardt's got Earth Shatter, a very simple thing you should be doing is going, Rein, I'm going to stun their Reinhardt, and then you're going to shatter him, and then your Reinhardt will go, okie dokie, and then you walk forward and go, ping, and then your Reinhardt just shatters everyone, and then you just kill them all. Right? Super basic combo. But if you're the Rein getting this done to you, you can see it happening, and you've got no choice. Like, you can't stop it. You stand there with your barrier, and you're like, well, boys, and ladies, I'm about to get slammed. Good luck.
Yeah, it's...
Can't you slam Diva Bombs as well? I'm sure I've seen that in the World
Cup game.
Yeah. What the hell?
Yeah, so you can stop the momentum of Diva Bombs going forward. It's ridiculous. You can actually, like, they start launching forward, and I think it's the whip shot that does it, and it just, like, stops the momentum flying forward. It's insane. So, yeah, it's not that she's just, like, if she just countered, if, like, oh, they got a really good Tracer, I'll pick Brig, their Tracer can't do anything anymore, so now she has to change. That's fine. It's the fact that, oh, now we're playing Brig, well, now they have to play Brig, or they have to do, like, what we're doing, and what we're doing will work even if the Tracer swaps away from Tracer. So it's not the fact that, if we remove Brig, then Tracer is uncounterable. It's the fact that this Tracer counter also is just effective against everything else. So it's like there's never a bad time to pick Brig. It's not like, oh, why are you playing Brig? They don't have a Tracer. It's, oh, they have anything. Brig is still kind of good here, guys. So, yeah, that, I think, is the crux of the issue. Because I know there's going to be some support mains out there going, well, I like the ability to just kill Tracers. And that's fair enough. It's nice to have a support that does actually beat Tracer, that it doesn't rely on, like, Zenyatta landing a couple of lucky headshots. But it's when that support goes on to stomp everybody else, and everyone's sort of at the mercy of this adorable Swedish woman going, hey, and just annihilated everyone.
And then go, see you go, guys, have some permanent armor from my crazy ultimate. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Stylosa, and he's been Josh, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, then like the video. Remember, you can subscribe to the channel and all that jazz. Click the little bell so you get alerted when videos go live. You can follow me on Twitter, which is @UnitLostGaming, and Josh is
@1_ amongst many.
Legend, and we will catch you lovely lot on the next one. Toodaloo.
Doodles.